Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of The Hard Count. I'm Michael Imam, and I recently had a terrific interview with MICDS football's Trevon Bobo. Bobo is a member of the 2021 class and currently stands at 5 foot 10 inches and 155 pounds. He plays corner. We had a great interview. We can clearly see here through his highlights. He has pretty darn good footwork. He's played both sides of the ball, so he's able to disrupt routes pretty well. A very well coached kid. And talk a little about that, and we also talk about his experience through the program and kind of how he's developed as a defensive back and kind of what he's looking to accomplish this year. All right, everybody, here is Trevon Bobo. Hope you guys enjoy this one. Tell me a little about how you've developed in the program thus far.
I'd say that I've developed as an athlete and not only as a cornerback in the program. Freshman year, I played cornerback, and then sophomore year, I actually played quarterback for the JV team. So I took a year off from defense, and then I went back to cornerback my junior year, and senior year, I'm still at cornerback.
All right, very, very cool. So how did kind of taking that year off impact your game?
I'd say that it didn't. I think it gave me a kind of a sense of what to look for. Playing quarterback, I got to see both sides of the ball at a new perspective, kind of. So, like, I kind of knew what to look for, what certain other cornerbacks would do that kind of gave you, like, could really open up the game. And then I could kind of translate that to my game on defense as well.
All right, very, very cool. So obviously your class of 2021, you're a senior this year, and you're kind of in the middle of your season right now. Is that correct?
Yes.
So how is it going? How is the 2021 season or 2020 season going for you so far?
I mean, obviously it's a little different with the COVID restrictions, and we've only got to play 2 games where other schools have got to play more, but I'd say it's going pretty well. We have 2 games under our belt. Played St. Dominic last night. I think it's actually a really great season so far.
All right, right. That's very, very cool. And so, do you play any other sports besides football?
I run track in the spring,
Okay,
and then
awesome.
I train in the winter for track.
All right, awesome, awesome. So, do you think kind of track and football as you're training for those kind of interchangeable? Do you think one kind of complements the other? How do they kind of impact each other? Would you say?
Yeah, I would say that track actually helps me a lot in football, especially playing cornerback. Really gives me an edge when I play different types of receivers. So when I play fast receivers, then I think that I'm pretty well handled to stay with them on their routes and whatnot. And then when I play against even taller receivers, the track works a lot on explosiveness. So whether that's going up for the ball or breaking and changing direction, I'd say it pretty complements pretty well.
All right, very, very cool. So, have you heard from any colleges, or has anybody contacted you at this point?
I've not been in contact with colleges directly. The most of the stuff that I have is getting followed on Twitter by certain coaches or getting resumes to fill out for certain schools.
All right. So, how is that going so far? Are you kind of moving towards getting a push for your recruiting, or are you kind of looking at anybody specifically right now?
Not looking at anyone specifically. Still, as the season goes on, I'll probably get in touch with my coaches and see who I can talk to see if we can further the process of recruiting.
All right, very, very cool. So, what's kind of the first thing you want colleges to know about you?
I would like them to know probably that my size isn't uh, terrible. A lot of times when people see a 145-pound cornerback, you probably wonder, like, is this kid really, is he scared to play? Is he scared of contact? I'd say I'm not. I like actually coming up and trying to be physical in the games. And then even when I'm guarding larger receivers, still able to stay physical with them.
Yeah, yeah. Your film obviously shows that quite a bit. You can see how much of a physical player you are because your film kind of just shows a ton of that right now, especially from last year. So,
Yeah.
in terms of that, so what does your kind of your training regimen look like?
Training wise, I in the summer I do a lot of on the field work, whether that's foot work and quickness, or if that's lifting with the team. I do liftings before schools with my teammates, and then I do a lot of running and trying to stay in shape in the summer, whether that's conditioning or if that's agility work in the summer.
Okay, very, very cool. And so, have you guys been doing anything differently with Coach Bouchard in terms of the COVID restrictions? Is there kind of a different way you guys are going about prepping for games or something like that?
I think what's different is we do online Zoom film, which I think is actually pretty convenient. We're able to have everyone on the film at once, and then he's able to display his screen for us so we can kind of prep for the games that way. I think that's it's different, but I think it's pretty convenient for us.
Yeah, we can obviously see that with colleges right now. I think Nick Saban in Alabama were kind of doing the online Zoom film. He said
Yeah.
that he said that in some cases it was better than actually being there in person. So that's kind of interesting take from him. But so tell me about your family life. How have your parents, your mom and your dad, kind of influenced you?
Well, my father was a football coach for as long as I can remember. So growing up, I was always going to little league practices with him, watching him coach for North County football. So that kind of put the idea of playing football in my head immediately. And then he was also a college athlete for track and football at Lindenwood. So for me, I've always wanted to obviously play football and run track because it's kind of been him guiding my hand there. But it's also been something that's really I've really fell in love with over the years, as it's kind of one of the first sports that I've always known about.
Yeah. And so kind of just the final two question here. So obviously you go to MICDS, which MICDS's name needs no introduction. It's a tremendously academically rigorous school. It's obviously difficult for a lot of kids to kind of balance the two, sports and academics. But how do you go about balancing sports and academics with the kind of a school and curriculum kind of as difficult as that?
So we went MICS for 13 years now. I think it's something that I've kind of learned over the years on how to balance my schoolwork and my athletics. I think for me, it's always going to a 2-hour practice and coming home and then immediately hitting the books. But then whether it's taking breaks in between me with my studying habits, or whether if it's even getting up before school or seeing my teachers before school, I think I've been able to kind of really hammer it down and get a solid routine in for doing my homework and my athletics and still prepping for games and whatnot.
Yeah. And then one kind of final fun question here for you. Typically, I ask this to athletes just for fun, but if you were to get drafted by an NFL team and your dreams were to be realized, what team would you want to get drafted by?
Pittsburgh Steelers has always been my favorite team ever. Great defense, very rich traditional team. And I always have my terrible towel with me on game day.
Awesome. Would be part of that at the time right now. #1 defense in the league. That's very cool.
Yep.
All right. Awesome. All right. Thanks so much for coming on, Trevon. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for the interview.
All right, no problem. Take care. Thank you. All right, everyone. That was Trevon Bobo out of MICDS, Mary Institute in St. Louis Country Day School in St. Louis, Missouri. If you'd like to contact Trevon, his Twitter account is at Trevon_Bobo7. And I'll be sure to put his huddle link and highlights and coach contact below, as well as I do for every athlete that I put on here. Also, if you'd like to contact me, my Twitter is at Imami Michael. My brand new Instagram page, it's been around for a little bit, is at The Hard Count with Michael Imami. Also, be sure to check out the Facebook page that I've got, or your parents want to check that out. It's at The Hard Count with Michael Imami on there. And don't forget, be sure to subscribe and click the alerts button on the new YouTube, or the YouTube channel as well. Hopefully, definitely have some more interesting videos coming out from there as well, and they should be very exciting. Got a couple of big D1 athletes coming up, so they should be fun. You're not going to want to miss it. All right, everybody, thanks so much for listening, and special thanks again to Trevon for coming on. He's a great kid, and I really enjoyed talking with him. Thanks, everybody, so much for listening. This has been The Hard Count. Do you have what it takes to go D1?